what you can do for your country.
So just as I say we aren't going to let any dogs or water hoses turn us around, we aren't going to let any injunction turn us around. Well, I don't know what will happen now, but it really doesn't matter with me now, because I've been to the mountaintop.
The future doesn't belong to the faint-hearted. It belongs to the brave.
Come here to this gate. Mr. Gorbachev, open this gate. Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
You, the people, have the power to create machines, the power to create happiness. You, the people, have the power to make this life free and beautiful, to make this life a wonderful adventure. Then in the name of democracy, let us use that power. Let us all unite.
Now, there's one thing you might have noticed I don't complain about. Politicians.
Governments don't live together, people live together. Governments, you don't always get a fair word or a fair fight. Well, I've come here to give you either one, or get either one from you.
That is totally taken out of context.
Well, not really.
That the only thing we have to fear is fear itself.
In the councils of government, we must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex.
I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up,
T-minus 1 minute.
live out the true meaning of its creed.
People should not be afraid of their governments. Governments should be afraid of their people.
T-minus 50 seconds.
I am paying for this microphone, Mr.
Every dollar released from taxation
T-minus 40 seconds.
that is spent or invested will help create a new job.
Chivalry is dead, and women killed it.
T-minus 30 seconds.
Don't give yourselves to these unnatural men with machine minds and machine hearts. You are not machines.
T-minus 20 seconds.
We shall fight on the beaches. We shall fight on the landing ground and in the streets.
10, 9,
We shall fight
8,
in the hills.
6,
We shall never surrender!
3, 2, 1, 0.
All right, welcome back to Problem Solver Politics live stream. This beautiful, oh goodness, what is this? 24th of February. Glad to be with y'all.
It's a Monday.
Yeah, it's a Monday. Oh man, I'm losing. It's the dry mouth from the stupid leukemia meds, man. I'm constantly feeling like I'm losing my voice, but I'm not. Anyway, dude, this is gonna be an awesome live stream. all kinds of crazy stuff been going on. Oh, gosh, I forgot. Before I go any further, I'm your host, Cardin Ellis, with Cody the Oracle.
Hey, everybody.
Rough start. It's like, do you know how to drive a manual, Cody?
Well, no, I was doing some work on the tabs in the background, so I wasn't ready.
Okay, do you know how to drive a manual, though?
Yeah, my first car was a manual.
Yeah, it's like when you accidentally start in second gear or accidentally start in third gear instead of first.
Never had that problem.
Okay, well, I definitely had that problem. So, anyway, glad to be here. So, Cody, what are we going to start with?
Well, okay, this is actually kind of...
Because I know what I want to start with, but I'm afraid that you might think it's just like...
Well, no, because I don't think you've heard what I want to start with yet. We didn't have time to do pre-show tonight, so I want you to check this out. This is a story now from a couple days ago, but, friend of the show, Pete Buttigieg. He put out this massive Twitter thread. Pretty, I'm not going to read the whole thing, but we'll start at the top. Ready? It said, to those who question whether a Midwestern mayor could gather a national movement around a new kind of politics, you are the answer. And to everyone who believes in our building, this is your night. This is your campaign. This, I believe, 22nd would be Saturday, which was the day of the Nevada caucus. So let's breeze through here a little bit and see what is it Pete's actually talking about. And again, I'll kind of spoiler alert. It's a ridiculously long thread where he asks for money a bunch, and it keeps going past where I say. But I want to get to where is it. So he goes on, talks about why you should give money, give me money, give me money. And then he gets to this story that sounds so ridiculous and fake that, here we go. I wish I had a Pete Buttigieg voice. This past fall, we were campaigning near Reno. And in the middle of my remarks,
we're campaigning near Reno.
The power went out completely. I was speaking to a dark room with no microphone, raising my voice to make myself heard. It took only a moment, but then something happened. One person held up the glowing screen of their phone, then another, and then another. Everyone holding up their lit phones together until the whole room lit up. And I couldn't see who was behind each light, who was young and who was old, who was white and who was black or Latino or Asian or Native, who was on 2 feet and who was in a wheelchair. I think he left some people out, but
yeah, I was about to say that wasn't a very intersectional thread. There should have been
light
30.
And knew that behind it was an American who saw the lights go out and knew to do something about it. All it took was one person, and others began to do the same. If we can light up a high school gym, anyway, it's a kind of cheesy, ridiculous, goofy story, right? Like, yeah, whatever, man. I've heard this. Spare me. I think Obama said basically the same thing, but he said, if one voice can move a room, yada yada.
At this point, I don't trust these people that say it.
Well, hold on, because Pete Buttigieg. He had proof of this totally real thing that happened, and he just, God bless the camera crew that got this from 7 different angles. But let's run this. Let's give Pete Buttigieg President free advertising. And I want you guys to check out what totally happened to Pete Buttigieg.
Justices ought to be able to retire like they used to, and wow.
This totally happened, by the way. This is real. This was not staged. No plants. Total coincidence. He had this crew.
Can you hear me if I'm just loud?
Now, I want to point something out. Call me heartless, but it's like, it's basically pitch black right here. Unless the sun came up or something, a lot of light came in through the windows.
I was about going to say, this is...
It was, for some reason, it was really dark, and then all of a sudden,
midday?
A bunch of lights came in through the window out of nowhere. Maybe they opened up, maybe they had shutters that were closed, maybe they had blinds that were closed. Maybe Pete Buttigieg and his supporters are just that great. They light up the darkness.
Or maybe that was the glow of everybody's cell phones outside.
Here we go. Now, you'll notice a lot of people put their cell phones away, plenty of light. Again, totally possible. They had curtains drawn, and they opened the curtains, and that's what you're seeing here. But you know what's funny? When I first saw this ad a couple days ago, the reason I didn't do a video on it. When I first saw this ad a couple days ago, I legitimately thought it was like he wasn't even like trying. Like the whole idea was it was fake. I thought he was putting it off as like, look, it's a goofy thing. It's not real. Like this didn't actually happen, but we filmed it to give like a what's the word I'm looking for? A dramatic reinterpretation or
a reenactment.
Like in those crime shows, dramatic reenactment, But the way I'm reading into this thread, it's like he's trying to pass this off as like, this is actually what happened and when it happened and how it looked. It was so, because I'll tell you one thing, even if they were trying to get this to work correctly, I feel like the odds that you have the camera crew in place, getting all these angles, the lighting's perfect. I feel like even with like a day's shooting, there's a good chance you get that wrong. Like they're gonna try to make me believe that, because you can even see here. Look, there's
only a couple. They always have videographers.
The windows aren't like covered or anything.
Well, that's because the auto white balance in the camera is not really going to be picking that up until it has to.
So are you suggesting the Pete Buttigieg campaign published a misleadingly, deceivingly edited, even if it's in camera editing, video live? And I mean, in a way, that's live in camera editing, is it not?
No, actually, I don't think this was
it's trying to pass it off
could see.
as being darker in the room than it actually was.
I could do this ad on my laptop, so I could see 1,000,001 ways where it's why it could be authentic. But what's funny is, for me, it's more of a metaphor of individualism and voluntary cooperation and an endorsement of capitalism and entrepreneurship and all these dumb things they've added onto an iPhone to make them little flashlights. You know what I'm saying? It's more of a metaphor for things against what Pete Buttigieg stands for than it is for Pete Buttigieg's platform himself.
Well, or if we're going to get that philosophical, could you not say that Pete Buttigieg is saying, finally man has conquered darkness?
Yeah.
The darkness no longer has to hold us back. See what we can do? Even in the blackest of days, the iPhone made in China, designed in San Mateo or whatever, will pull us through. Even though, like you can know,
Cupertino.
You can literally see the outside. It's the same outside as it is here, and obviously their phone lights aren't lighting the room up at this point. It's obviously outdoor ambient light. I don't know. It's one of those things. Like, I didn't know.
Oh man, I like this. This is the only thing I like that Pete Buttigieg put out there.
If he had just put this out, like I had thought it was in a vacuum. Whatever. You put out some like phony ad saying like, oh, look, like if he's trying to show it as a representation and it was phony and he never even pretended this was real, I get it. But dude, you bury it in your 50 tweet thread asking for money over and over again. I like this. This is a great one right here. So he tweets, this is our shot, our only shot to beat Donald Trump. And then he goes, one more tweet, and then boom, 2 tweets later, by the way, give me money again. And then he goes, one more tweet, by the way, give me money. And then he goes for a while and it's like, by the way, here's my at six? Now maybe that's 6-figure, but close.
You know,
that's high double-figure production value to get that ad shot. These are nice cameras, multiple angles. There's a crew that edited this, right?
See,
this isn't
like
cheap.
This
it's
ad.
not a free ad. I'm just saying it's good. Trying to you brought it before. Vince McMahon said this. He said, "I'm not going to insult your intelligence any longer. Stop insulting my intelligence, people. This isn't real." Just tell us, and maybe, I don't know, I'll scroll down, and I don't see it. I don't see where he says, oh yeah, by the way, this isn't actually what happened. Maybe tell me if I'm wrong. I've read through this thread a couple times. Because he has this goofy, dramatic story. Like, if he had just wrote this story, I'd say, whatever, it's dumb, but okay, sure, I guess that happened. But try to convince us that he had, you know, He had a couple roving cameramen with handhelds. He had a couple nice just for some random speech in a high school gym. Okay.
Now you only need interns with an iPhone.
Dude,
I mean,
look at
that's really all you need.
Are you telling me this shot with only an iPhone?
Very well could be that shot in a heartbeat.
Hold on.
An iPhone 11 Pro could easily execute that shot in a heartbeat. That right there was a standardized.
Okay, we have to watch another
tripod.
We have to watch another version of this video though.
Okay.
I know this whenever I'm exporting videos to upload to Twitter.
Here, hold on. Let me set my kombucha.
I hear it, yeah. But whenever I'm exporting videos to Twitter, I end up exporting them in 480p anyway because Twitter compresses your videos to look like absolute trash. No matter what resolution you export them at. I love when there's like an option like Twitter 1080p, and it just looks like garbage when it shows up on my Twitter.
Yeah.
So who knows what it looks like? I'm just saying this doesn't look like even multiple people were filming him for some reason on this individual day. So again, people just can miss me with all this nonsense of, so what do you know? What a spontaneous thing that happened.
May I interject?
Oh, please, by all means.
I actually think this is one of the only kind of authentically heartwarming things that I've seen Pete Buttigieg do. You know, sticking with the standard message of unity, sticking with the standard message of individually, we may only be small lights, but we can be together, backed up by real footage. At least it seems real to me, of him speaking at this engagement and the lights going off. This is one of the only non-inauthentic things I've seen him put out in forever. In fact, I think if he would have stuck with this, he would have had a better chance than some of the dives that he's taken because he tried to pass off his civil rights bill named after a Republican as authentic by having tacit non-responses count as endorsements. And this is very kind of Midwestern Sunday school. This right here is a lesson that a youth pastor who knows how to use Adobe Premiere and had some footage that he could chop up would make for his Sunday school class and his youth group on Tuesday nights.
If you're trying to pass it off as real, though, yeah, obviously you're not going to have like dolly shots and stuff. Like you're trying to pass it off as being organic.
Yeah, so I believe this is real. This is a very Midwestern Sunday school ad, which is fine. I'm down with it. I grew up going to Sunday school.
Hold on. You think this is organic? You think that this just happened to happen? They just happen to have multiple cameras recording, and they just happen to have all this great footage with usable audio to make a commercial. You think it actually just happened?
Well, think at the Yang event. Like, for example, when Andrew Yang...
look in the
hold
background.
on, let me finish. I'm backing this up. If Andrew Yang, at the First in the West rally that he had, the lights went out at the Rio, okay? I mean, Zach Grumman could call up us, could call up Paget, could call up Fred the Felon, the Zach and Matt show that they all know were there. There it goes again, my voice. But that they all knew were there, and they probably had one of their own stationary cameras that's running on battery, okay? So right there are 5 angles of the same event that Andrew Yang, should his lights get shut off, could call right away. And I bet you Pete Buttigieg has his own groupies that he knows he can call.
So this is a totally natural, organic shot people just have of your speech all the time.
Well, probably by the videographer they hired to be there already.
As one of like 5. Dude, I do not believe that for a second.
You're going dubious on it. See, I believe it, but you don't believe it.
Not for 1 second.
Well, then you need to put that little halfway shot that we do when we argue.
I believe this happened.
Hold on. Like it's undisputed.
I have to read that through programming. I believe this happened. I believe this event, not this event. I believe this event happened. He was speaking in Reno. The lights went out. People took out their phones so they could see. I believe that happened. I do not believe that is this. I believe this is the what's the word I'm looking for? This is the Forensic Files dramatic reenactment of what happened. It's not actually it, but I believe that happened. On the campaign trail, the lights went out. People took their phones out. It was a touching moment. And they were like, dang, I wish we had footage of that. And they're like, why do we have to wish? Let's just film it. I'll put out a casting call. We'll get a bunch of people, and they'll film me saying thank you and please win.
Huh. Interesting.
That's what I think. By the way, in the meantime, $5 super chat by Foresight 2020 said, I was surprised by the light that came in through the window. I didn't know Pete ever held above ground events, especially at daytime, right? It's one thing to hold above ground, but during the daytime when the sun's out, yikes. But yeah, it was just, I don't know, goofy, weird thing. I didn't think to do a full video on it, but looking at it again, I didn't know. I originally thought it was a joke. Not a joke, but I originally thought he was publishing this as like I said, like a dramatic retelling. I didn't think he had this whole Twitter thread asking for money and explaining how important it is to give him money and please give me money. By the way, if you didn't know, Pete Buttigieg needs your help. And then he said this is the total thing that happened. So anyway, there's that. And then one more final time, he's going to ask us for money. It's Act Blue, though. I believe he's already had issues with people refunding their Act Blue donations. So actually kind of an interesting wrinkle to think of it that way. In the past, what was that, 3 months ago? There was a big refund Pete thing. A bunch of people refunded their Pete Buttigieg donations through Act Blue. Interesting to see him still using it.
The only reason, the first thing that made me think, oh, well, maybe this could be fake, was the fact that he wasn't worried when the lights went off instantaneously about getting shanked or having an assassination attempt upon his life.
Not one of his
security people flooded him. Because let me tell you, if I were a security guy and all of a sudden the lights went out, I would literally make a beeline for my candidate, tackle him, and just cover his body with mine if I had no other exit or extradition opportunity. Like,
well, at least someone goes on stage and sees what's up. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
At least just walk up there and say, "Hey, Mr. Buttigieg." Like, I agree. Normally, you think there'd be the security of the event communicating a bit, just on the idea of, oh, all the lights are out, none of us can see what's going on. But no, it was actually pretty chill. Everyone just really wanted to hear the Pete Buttigieg.
But does it surprise you that
people want to hear Pete Buttigieg's speech so bad that they were like, I'm not even leaving from my spot, man. I'm just taking my phone out and shining a light. I'm not even going to seek light. I'm going to make the light myself because, man, Pete Buttigieg just speaking in front of us. Like,
well, you have some friends here. You have some cohorts. Philly Yang Girl says 18 seconds is so fake. Liam J says it's all staged, just like the 9-year-old boy who came out as gay on his campaign stage today.
That was one of those ironic moments where it's like, I think the kid's like, oh, what is it like to be strong enough to come out as gay? And it's like, wow, dude, you're in front of hundreds of people right now and on camera. I don't know. What is that like? I mean, I don't think Pete Buttigieg came out as publicly as a 9-year-old kid.
By the way, 9-year-olds that haven't gone through puberty, I'm sure have 100% their sexuality figured out.
But even then,
without being under duress from society or their parents.
I mean, kids think all kinds of things, right? But even then, it's just funny. It's like, oh, you're in front of a bunch of people with a microphone in front of you. It's like, I don't know. Maybe it's real. Maybe he's 9 and he didn't realize the irony of, oh, what is it like to do this thing in public when you're doing it and you're literally doing it in public? So if that was an organic moment for Pete, hey, nice for him. But yeah, I'm sorry, Pete. This is the 18-second mark. Or yeah, exactly. I don't know, maybe the cameraman was just like, oh, I got a great shot. But, dude, I know for a fact, not always, some crews better than others, some events are better than others, but I know for a fact, man, when they do events like this, they will set up to get certain shots and miss them live when it's like just a regular speech. Like, the audio is not usable, because you can't plan for everything. Somehow, no, man, no problems. Audio was awesome. All these angles, perfect. We got all it needed was like a Spielbergian like push zoom, like right when he looks up and the lights go out, like, oh, the lights are out. Can you still hear me? I mean, come on, man. This is
so Raven 1K asks, how much do we have to put in super chat to get Cardin to be our bodyguard? I was a bodyguard once when I was in New York. Did I tell you that, bro?
I believe it.
Yeah, it was actually technically I was a bodyguard twice.
Whose body did you guard?
What's funny is the first time was just like a regular normal thing where a guy just needed private security to run some events. It was mostly just to keep like people out of his face, and so on and so forth. So I had a friend who just had a private security firm and I was a big guy. So he said, hey, do you want to come work for me for a night? Which looking back, I think was illegal because in New York, I think you have to have a guard card, but I think he just wanted big guys and he knew I had a suit.
Well, it depends,
so I was like,
what
okay.
You're technically doing, right?
Yeah, that's true. The second time I played a fake bodyguard who was supposed to look real for this guy who was trying to start a competitive league against the UFC. And then another time I was Russian mafioso's bodyguard for an episode of White Collar, dog. You know what I'm saying? Remember that TV show, White Collar, shot in New York? Yep. That's me, dude.
You know what?
I was a Russian mafioso bodyguard, dude.
I don't have mixed feelings on White Collar. I know exactly what I feel about that show. But
oh, you didn't like it? I loved it. It was cool. The good guy always wins once every half an hour.
Okay,
the world makes sense.
Here's the thing. I'm not gonna say I'm like, wow, I watch better TV, because you know what TV show I adore and I will defend to the death, and I want to see come back.
What?
Burn Notice.
Oh, Burn Notice.
Jeffrey
really?
Donovan.
Is that like your Miami Vice pseudo remake?
No, Burn Notice.
Because it seemed very Miami Vice-y mixed with like Quentin Tarantino mixed with like Michael Mann.
It's PG-13 Grand Theft Auto is what it is.
Okay, that's a good way of explaining it.
It's like every episode's the same. It's hey, here's the interesting guy. It's like if you ever played the Grand Theft Auto video game, same way. They go somewhere, they meet some. Anyway, we're not talking about Jeffrey Donovan.
So anyway,
I wanted to show
another
this,
super
though.
chat. We got another super chat.
Oh, we did. JE $5. He told the boy to stay in the closet unless it's politically expedient or till he's in his mid-30s. He brought that up because I do want to not highlight, but it is interesting. A lot of people. Because a lot of people know Pete Buttigieg is gay, right? Because it's a big part of just his like persona.
Yeah.
But the story behind it's weird, man. I'm not gonna. Honestly, man, people do weird things, so I'm not gonna. I'm not gonna. What's the word I'm looking for here? I'm not gonna say he's a bad guy. It's weird. It does feel like he waited until he had already been elected mayor. Yeah. Like, Pete Buttigieg came out as gay in 2015.
Yeah, for real.
It's just weird. I'm not saying, hey, maybe there's a million reasons. I'm sure a lot of times what happens is somebody tells us 90% of the story, but they leave out 10%, so we can't. Like, it's like, well, why do you wait so long? It doesn't make any sense. I'm just saying, that's weird. Like, less than 5 years later, he's gay, married, and running for president as an openly gay man when he was in the closet. Hey, maybe he's just such an overachiever. He's like, dude, I went from in the closet to openly gay, running for president, gay, married in 5 years. Or he definitely was, or maybe he's such an overachiever and he did not want to come out.
Well, he speaks 7 languages. Maybe he isn't overachiever.
Maybe he never wanted to come out. He wanted to keep it private, and he was like, you know what? It'll help me be president, and he's sacrificing it all. Who knows? It is. Pete's backstory is bizarre. It's like you also notice.
Well, there's those 2 disappeared years in Afghanistan where he worked for the private contractors. Nobody knows how much money he made or what he did. You know what I'm saying? There's these strange, very prolonged attachments to the DNC establishment that he didn't really make. He didn't really come out with in the beginning, but people slowly figured out.
I do think he worked for the CIA. I don't know if he is a spy now.
You think so?
I think at some point maybe they cross paths.
Dog, are you going a little bit Aleja Jones in this one?
No, at some point, a lot of people work for
Jones?
A lot of people do some work for the CIA at some point doing something. It's not that weird.
Alejandro Jones.
Especially like working for the CIA doesn't mean you're like a spy all the time. Like I think or maybe FBI. I think just being a super smart guy in the military doing stuff, they probably asked him some things. I don't know. But this is another viral Pete Buttigieg moment that is totally real and totally happened.
Liam J, before you go any further, pull that up. But Liam G says Pete's so fake, he's actually not gay.
Well, it's like the same thing with like the Bloomberg office attacks. I'm like, is Bloomberg just paying people to do it? He pays me everything. Same thing with Buttigieg. Like, he's so fake. It's like, what about him is real? But this again, if this is a legitimate moment, shout out to this kid. But it is just it is pretty ironic, right? Where's the question? Would you help me tell the word I'm gay to? I want to be brave like you. The boy wrote in a card that was written by the moderator during Buttigieg's rally in Denver. And then so it became a big public thing. If it's real, cool. Yeah, it's a pretty cool moment for the kid. It just, again, sorry, with Pete Buttigieg, I think it's fake. I think this kid's a plant. Again, I think they work like this, though. I think maybe that kid sent him this letter somewhere else or at another rally when there wasn't media and there wasn't cameras. He got this and he was like, hey, you know what? I like this. This could be a moment. It just feels manufactured. It doesn't feel organic. Because that's also, by the way, how a lot of reality shows work.
Okay.
Like, they try to film everything, but sometimes it's, oh, that was good. Let's do it again because we didn't get it, but this time let's do more like that, huh? Like, ever seen reality shows where they have footage of them walking? They'll have footage of the person they're following walking in a door, and they'll already be in the building. It's like, well, hold on a minute. The camera crew's already set up in the building?
Yeah.
That's weird. I thought this was like, I thought Gordon Ramsay was storming in this restaurant to let him know what here. Why is the camera crew? Why is there lights set up? So, yeah. I don't know. That's kind of my thing with Pete now. It's gotten to the point where it's like, I don't believe anything about this guy anymore. Like, I need proof of anything he says. Because, again, this could be a cool, touching moment, or it could be them shamelessly trying to exploit a touching moment that had previously happened on the campaign stage, but wasn't filmed. And like, well, hold on a minute. We have to do this again in front of cameras. I wonder how often I honestly wonder how often that happens in politics in general. Of, oh, shoot, that was really cool. We should do it again, but this time in front of cameras. Probably more than we think.
Okay.
Right? Wouldn't you agree?
Geez, man, I have such a problem with the exploitation of kids with political agendas, especially with things that happen to do with sexuality. Like, it beyond bothers the crap out of me. Like, I'm kind of with Ben Shapiro on this one, where it's like, it's one thing for adults to have battles, very intense battles, but none of these burdens should be borne by our children. And he said, I can't remember what he said, but he said like one of the only times where like he ever thought, if the state does this, I will answer my door with the gun, is if they start trying to indoctrinate transgenderism on his children or something like that in the public schools. And so I was like, okay, so I guess that's his breaking point, right?
What is there anything with Pete Buttigieg? I don't get.
Well, I'm just saying that parading a kid out there to say you should come out with 9-year-olds don't have anything sorted out, let alone their sexuality. Come on.
This whole thing was just to make it, because the kid literally calls Pete Buttigieg brave. It was just to make
like
Pete,
no, that's fine.
It's just to make Pete look good. Like, look, Pete's this brave role model for children. That's all it was.
Okay,
I don't believe that, by the way. I don't believe 9-year-olds are watching the 2020 Democratic presidential primary going, wow, that Pete Buttigieg, what an inspiration to me at 9 years old, this politician. I mean, maybe I'm crazy, but I feel like 9-year-olds are on TikTok and they're playing Fortnite and they don't even know who the president is, right? Like, How many 9-year-olds know who Hillary Clinton is?
Well, and then also, like, how many 9-year-olds even understand the politically charged nature?
And shout out to Raven 1LK, I believe. Thanks for joining, by the way.
Oh, yeah, thanks. Another membership. Rock on. I have such a problem with this. Marvel DC Girl says, I knew I was straight at age 6. I think most kids think growing up that, and this is not at all to besmirch the coming out experience, but like Kate, oh gosh, what's the actress's name that always spells Hillary Clinton on SNL? She's hilarious. McKinney is her last name. What's her first name? Kate McKinney, right? I'm botching this.
Wasn't it McKinnon? She was in the Ghostbusters movie and a couple other things.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah. So she had this really, really touching story that she told on Ellen, where she said she was like 16 years old or something like that, and she was lifting weights in front of her mirror. And that's kind of like when she finally asked herself, like, well, am I gay? And she kind of realized that, okay, I'm lesbian, And some of these self-exploratory, like getting good with who you are on the deepest level and understanding it, there's no way that can happen until much later in life. There's no way a 9-year-old understands both the politically charged nature and the depth of what, quote, being gay is.
Well, hold on, but no, there's nothing political about being gay. There's nothing political about being straight. Like
with the LGBTQ lobby being one of the most powerful and feared in modern politics.
Dude,
you don't think that's a politically charged subject?
9-year-olds don't care about lobbies.
Okay,
like,
yeah, but see, I think most people default thinking they're going to be.
You could say this, and I guarantee this happens all the time, both ways. There's probably 9-year-olds think they're straight and they're gay, and 9-year-olds think they're gay and they're straight when they grow up. That probably does happen.
I think most kids just think they're going to be like their parents because they're imprinting on the situation they grew up in.
Oh, by the way, Joey Wong, shout out, thank you for joining. Welcome to Problem Solver. We need to. We're gonna.
But parading a 9-year-old out there, I got a problem with that.
Parading. I guess they did. He is a plant, probably.
Yeah, that's the epitome of parading a kid out there to pass a political agenda. I just got huge problems with that, and it really, really bothers me.
Okay, well, I tell you what. You know what sucks? Man, Pete Buttigieg just lost your vote. How unfortunate for Pete Buttigieg. He just lost the Cardinals vote. But I don't know. I take a bigger problem with Pete Buttigieg being so phony. I can't believe anything he does. But anyway, we're not going to talk more about Pete Buttigieg because he's basically out of the election now. It's probably the end for him. So.
You think so?
Oh, yeah. Big time. I want to see if I can pull this tweet up for you guys. I almost tweeted about this, and I didn't, and I wish I did. Let me see if I can pull it up real quickly. I believe Pete Buttigieg is one of 2 candidates. Not one of 2, but Pete Buttigieg is one of the candidates who has not yet placed any Super Tuesday ad buys yet.
Whoa, what?
I believe him and Biden.
Get out of town.
Biden's gone heavily on South Carolina, but I do believe neither of them have done that yet. Which, that's.
Oh, you want to talk? You want to say Michael Bloomberg came late to the party? If you don't have any Super Tuesday ad buys lined up right now, are you going to be able to?
It's speaking to he might be dropping out before then, right? Like if they don't perform well in South Carolina, this might be the end of the campaign. Anyway, a couple things I want to get back to. So shout out to Barbara Ovell for Welcome to Problem Solver. Thank you for joining. And then Raven 1LK said, what are your debate predictions tomorrow? Think it'll be Warren trying to revive her campaign by slamming Mike while everyone else dumps on Bernie? I think tomorrow night we are going to get this is the Hail Mary debate for basically everyone but Bernie Sanders and Mike Bloomberg. Okay. Because Mike's got the money. Everyone else, this is the Hail Mary debate. This is I definitely won't be here next time if I don't do something crazy and make a move, right? And we saw that last debate with Warren and Amy Klobuchar, but it's going to get even crazier. I think all of them know this is probably that last debate because no. There's one more before Super Tuesday, I believe. That would be the last one. But like Super Tuesday, that's when the money takes over.
Okay.
I was looking at this last time. Guys, 2016, 94 or 95% of the vote in Nevada went between Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton. Like, it is weird to have 7 people, or 4 people, 5 people, double digits. Like, that is weird. And the reason why I bring that up is once we get to Super Tuesday, the money adds up. You can't have 13 states worth of ground game to run a campaign, even ads, you can't do that without a ton of money. And there isn't enough people in the country donating to campaigns to keep 7 of them afloat. So eventually that number has to come down. So this is going to be the debate where everyone, because also, here's the other thing. Everyone knows this. Bernie Sanders, I don't think, has gotten more than 50%. I think he got close in Nevada, 47. Point being, more than 50% of people in every one of these states is voting for someone not named Bernie Sanders. So all of these they call themselves moderates, just non-Bernie Sanders. They're all waiting because they're all saying, well, as soon as other people start dropping, a majority of the vote still isn't going to Bernie. I can take that vote if they drop out before me. So we're seeing a lot of toe dragging, a lot of foot dragging. Where normally people be dropping out, but they're thinking, well, if I could just hang in there, if I could just outlast Joe Biden, that's 10%. If I could just outlast Tom Steyer, that's 12%. And that we're running into that issue. But like I said, I'm trying to pull this tweet up for you guys so you can get a look at it. But we're starting to see candidates look at Super Tuesday as, okay, am I going to be alive in this race at that point? And not all of them are saying yes.
Okay, cool. So, I don't know. I kind of agree with you that it's a numbers and cents question. I don't see anybody making it that much farther. You know what I'm saying? Bernie Sanders can raise money on a dime. Well, he just needs to send out an email that says, give me $1.
He's raising the most, but remember, even what Bernie's raising is nothing compared to what Bloomberg's spending.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. This is going to be a very interesting fight because, I mean, I give credit where credit is due, and Bernie, in so many ways, comes across so hypocritical, but in one way he does not, and that is the micro donations, man. This idea that power to the people, you know what I'm saying? I've got millions of donors that give small amounts, and we can win this battle with a lot of little sticks. See, the reason why Pete Buttigieg, when he makes this million points of light argument, which is actually a George H.W. Bush speech, but when he makes this together, with a lot of small pieces can become one big movement argument, it falls a little bit on deaf ears because of the wine cave incident. Because of the large sums of money that he's raising from individual billionaires. Whereas if Bernie Sanders were to make that argument, I think it would come across as a little bit more authentic because, I mean, he really is just having millions of donations that are tiny from tons of people and is amassing a formidable war chest off it. So when the collectivist argument against the individualist argument is put to the test, Bernie Sanders is making a formidable show of force with his fundraising that the collectivist approach can work. I give credit where credit is due. Pete's not doing that. You got something. I see you wiggling your hand over there.
I have an update. So this is a Twitter account I follow, Medium Buying, and for the most part, a lot of their information, whenever I check it out, it is real. And according to them, actually, a few hours ago, Pete Buttigieg did place their first TV ad spending in Super Tuesday. So that tells me that Pete's going to be there. If you're running ads to campaign on Super Tuesday, you might as well hang in the race till then. And it seems like we have Super Tuesday ads in, by the way, and you know what's funny? I do the same thing in sports. Whenever we're talking about sports, people are talking about, they're going to trade this player, they're going to sign that player, they're going to draft. I look at the money. Who made the decision? Who's writing the check? Well, when Amy Klobuchar is canceling TV spots in South Carolina, it sounds to me like she might be preparing to concede this race. So that's one person on the way. Like I said, same thing where if Pete wasn't running Super Tuesday ads, it would kind of sound like he was done. We're now seeing he's running. I think Biden still hasn't ran ads in Super Tuesday, but he is running ads heavily in South Carolina. So it's the money will be very telling. The money will be very, very, very telling in this election. And I think, if I had to bet, I'd bet Klobuchar's dropping and Buttigieg hangs until at least Super Tuesday based on this, nothing else really, just because of how telling it is. Because Super Tuesday, it's important to remember these candidates have been spending money, campaigning, working, running ads, doing everything for about 7 months, you'd say, in earnest,
okay,
in 4 states. 4 on Super Tuesday, 13 vote at once. it's you. If you're running TV ads in every state that's voting early, cool. You have to do more than 3 times that on one day, or for one day. I mean, like the money gets so out of hand. That's why it's important to have the field narrowed by this point, because like. Otherwise, like, really, Bloomberg loves this. People hanging in the race till Super Tuesday, he loves it.
Oh, yeah.
He's running all
It makes it
the
easier
Super
to
Tuesday
trounce
ads.
them all.
Yeah, all the money's not going to one other candidate. It's going all over the place. And I want to bring one more thing, too. One more thing. Unrelated, but interesting. If it really does come down to Bernie Sanders versus Michael Bloomberg, which it looks like it might. I mean, money-wise, those would be the two bankrolls left, right?
Yeah.
It would be pretty fascinating, and I think an under-talked-about story, underreported story, that this would be, I mean, for the first time, I believe, a Jewish man or a Jewish person in general would be the nominee for a major presidential candidacy, and not only that, 2 of them at the end. It'd be very, very interesting. I don't believe. Correct me if I'm wrong. At least has there? No, I don't think any Jewish person's ever been the nominee for any major political party. I don't think so.
Repeat that?
I don't think any Jewish person's ever been the nominee, right? For either party.
No, I think there was one in the 70s. Oh, no, not the final nominee.
Yeah, for either party, right? Democrats or Republicans. Let me know if I'm wrong. But I just think it is interesting.
That's a good question.
It's kind of underreported story, but it is fascinating to think about. It's like, yeah, they would go from there was never, ever any Jew that was close to being president to 2 of them running against each other. That would be a fascinating story, and it's not talked about enough, but I think it is really interesting to me. I think I was just reading something, and I forgot what, but it was one of the Jewish publications. They were talking about these
Look,
candidates.
in Wikipedia, there's a list of Jewish political milestones in the United States of America, and the first thing that pops up is Jared Polis was the first Jewish congressman to be openly gay upon first election in 2009. So there was a nominee for vice president of the United States.
But yeah, exactly.
But and the first Jewish candidate to receive an electoral. Okay, yeah. So yeah, maybe it's not. Yeah, and there's an article from the JTA that says, "Is 2020 really the year for America's first Jewish president?" Question mark. Okay,
interesting, right? It is interesting to me too because of the fact that it's coming down to looking like the likelihood's like 100%. It's either Bernie or Bloomberg, so either way, one of them would be Jewish, and no one talks about it. I don't know. That's weird, but I just think it's kind of neat.
Okay.
It's kind of like just one of those things where it's just like, that would be the first time that happened in this country. You're right. Especially now, I'm not going to point out the irony. Both of them are from New York. I think they're both from New York City, right? Like, isn't Bernie from the Bronx, or where's Bernie from?
No, he's from Brooklyn, yeah.
Brooklyn.
Yeah.
Yeah, but both of them are from New York City, which, I don't know. I think it is funny because Bernie's been, he's been in Vermont a while. But for the rest of the country, because, dude, I saw it happen with de Blasio. If you're from New York City, people not from New York don't look at you kindly, regardless of anything else. They'll be like, oh, he's a
I
New
remember
York
when I
City guy.
worked in a call center before I actually had lived in New York. Now I actually like the New York accent, and having lived there, I'm endeared to it. But we were always mortified whenever the 2 major area codes of Manhattan would come up in our call center, because the New Yorkers, dude, they were brutal, man. I remember I was at a high school working in this call center. You'd be like, hi, Mrs. So-and-so, is, X, Y, or Z person in there? I'd like to, and with most other people, you would get generally cordial, sometimes dismissive, sometimes flip, or just sometimes hang-ups, But the New Yorkers be like, listen here, kid, never call this number again, or I'll crawl through the phone, and I'm going to gut you like a fish, and be like, Why'd you turn me down? I can't even hear myself in my earphones.
Well, you always talk about the stunning mic technique you have, where when you're going to raise your voice, how you move off the microphone so you don't blow things out.
Oh, that's when you're singing. But yeah, maybe I should have.
Yeah, but you
should have gotten back.
You don't really do it, so that's why I lowered your microphone,
Cody. So, yeah, you're right though. There is this interesting. Once you've lived there, you don't realize how New York really does have a uniqueness to it that oftentimes you have to have been there to understand. And I think the harsh reputation the New Yorkers have outside of Manhattan, I think is a little undeserved, because once you go there, you actually recognize the beauty and the openness of the people. It's just in a very different way. You know what I'm saying? It's in a very different way. I actually find New Yorkers to be very generous, even though it's considered a very cold culture. And I think that's just because it's urban and there's so many people stuck together. You got to focus on your problems first. But I'd only been there for 2 or 3 weeks, and I remember I got off the subway. This is just a tiny little story time. I'll keep it to 30 seconds. But there was this blind man who was walking, and I didn't realize he was blind, and he was standing next to me until, he whips out his the cane that they use to feel, right? Because it's wrapped in these cool little dividable parts, and he whips it out and he starts walking. And then he literally just calls out and yells and says, "Is somebody going south of Houston?" Just calls it out. And then the dude next to me just grabs his arm and says, "Yeah, I'll go with you." And so I was like, whoa, I got to see this. So he grabs him by the arm and just walks with him, guides him through the subway station up to south of Houston. He says, "You're on Houston now," and then leaves. And then the dude literally just calls out and he says, "Excuse me, is somebody crossing this street?" You know what I'm saying? And then another woman, without like batting an eye, who's like in heels walking on her way to work, just then grabs his arm and drags him across the street. And then finally, like once he got across the street and she's like, "Okay, now you're across the street," he literally just like called out again. He says, "Is somebody going to 552 Houston?" And then this third dude just like walking along that heard him says, "Yeah, I'll take you." And then just takes him by the arm and then walks him there. And literally maybe only 20% slower than an able-bodied person could walk on their own if they knew they were going. This completely blind guy, just by calling out to his society around him, was effectively able to go from the subway station up into public, across the street, and then to the place that he needed to go, just relying on the help of complete and total New Yorker strangers. And that's something that could not happen in any other city. So yes, you're right. It is perceived outside of the United States as being a little bit harsher and different.
Hold on 1 second.
But it is its own beautiful thing.
In that story, you explained exactly how people not from New York resent New Yorkers. You know what part of the story it was?
What?
Try to guess. What part of the story was it where you explained why people who aren't from New York City resent people from New York City? You revealed it. You actually said it. What I was going to bring up.
I don't know.
Beat me to it.
What? Why?
It's part of the story. Well, not part of the story, but it's part of the thing you said.
The subway underground?
No.
Or focus on your own problems first, or what?
Apparently, people in New York City, only in New York, everything only could happen in New York City. It's the craziest place. Nowhere else in the world. Dude, in small towns across this country that aren't New York City, things a million times crazier than what happens in New York City happens every single day. They just don't have this outsized impression of themselves. Oh, wow, only in New York. What a world. What a crazy world. Like, come on, man. I guarantee you. Want to hear a funny story? Did you know there was a author? I believe Samuel Beckett is the name of the author. Famous author. Well, very well known. And when he was I don't know if he was a younger man even. I think he was an older man. He lived in a village in France. In this village in France, Andre the Giant, the young Andre the Giant, who would grow on to be Andre Giant, lived there. And he was so big he couldn't get in the school bus. So every few days, people with trucks around the village would take turns driving Andre the Giant to school in the back of the pickup trucks.
Whoa. And
Now,
the pickup trucks got outlawed.
If that happened in New York City, people were like, only in New York City. It's like, dude, this happens everywhere.
Well, no, there would be no truck. There would be no truck.
Fine, in New York City, they'd have to do something else. But you see my point. It's like stuff like this happens all over the world. But because whenever anything weird happens in New York City, anyone who lives there is like, oh my God, what a crazy place. It's like, dude, stuff happens all over the place that's crazy. It's not only New York City.
Okay, cool, rock on. So, I'm getting distracted by superfluous commendations of Kyle Kalinske in the chat. And apparently Spliff Sensei, Joe Rogan, is baking some brownies again. So have fun with that, Spliff. Anyway, it's interesting, Cody. We could kind of segue into talking about Super Tuesday now. I've been wanting to do a video.
I want one more thing, too, I want to talk about.
Okay, hit it.
The more I look at this, Michael Bloomberg 1,000,000% paid somebody to do this. This is not real. The more I look at this.
Really? What makes you say that?
Let's see. I'm a vandal. I hate the rich so much, I'm going to say eat the rich. So I'm going to tape a piece of wood or something to a window and spray paint on that. And that's it. I'm not going to do anything else.
It does definitely seem like...
I'm not going to cause any real damage.
This looks like somebody who
I'm just going to put it up and run away?
Yeah. Like this kind of looks like an intern from the Midwest where there's no graffiti in their small town where everybody knows each other. Kind of just tried to recreate what they think graffiti should look like, but without actually having to do too much cleanup afterwards. You know what I'm saying? It looks like there's some I don't know, small town Kansas kid, who was told, hey, yo, you got to make it look like somebody roughed up our building. Oh, like graffiti, sir? Yeah, like really bad graffiti, man. Oh, okay, let me go to let me go get some poster board from Walmart.
The language is good, though.
Well, eat the rich. Yeah, all you have to do is Google like top 3 Antifa slogans, and eat the rich is probably like number 2. Okay. So.
I do feel like if I was brought into a courtroom for this, I would be able to argue this is like this is street art, Your Honor. It's performative street art. You know, like I'm elevating the message. It's fair use to use the Michael Bloomberg campaign building in this manner. But I don't know. The more I look at it, some of these seem a little bit less obviously fake to me. This one, obviously, broken glass. You know, this it's pretty. This is so. It doesn't even stand. This is the other one. So obviously fake. How is that even vandalism? Unless that was a board they took off the building, it looks to me like someone just brought a sign and put it in front of it. Like it's vandalism. Our office in Youngstown. America deserves better. Better than you, Mike Bloomberg. We deserve better than you. I don't know. You're right. I guess you're right. It's too stupid. If Michael Bloomberg's paying people to do this, he should get his money back. It's ridiculous. He deserves way better for whatever he's paying. Because how he pays well than this. Some of this stuff looks real. That like this right here. Okay, yeah, maybe.
Yeah,
maybe this
that's
like
a little bit more. See, the broken glass is authentic to me.
But this also could just be like kids screwing around.
Well, yeah, but at least that's authentic vandalism.
Exactly. These last two.
And the orange paint, that looks legit.
Miss me with this. This is such crap. This is not. What? We're billions, 50 billion buys you a lot, man.
Okay, cool. You know, I've never seen two-tone graffiti like that wasn't artistic. See, vandalism graffiti is meant to say its message very, very quickly, you know? But two-tone...
You mean like this?
Yeah, exactly.
Like someone just quickly spray paint someone and ran away?
Yeah, because you know you're committing a crime and you got to have your buddy watching
that's
you.
Why you
I
spray
may
paint,
have never done this myself.
That's why you spray paint the board ahead of time and just lean the board against the wall.
Yeah, that's kind of just like, oh, we're going to a theatrical production and whoop, we dropped the plywood here.
Like, what is the...
You know?
There's some movie where they're trying to prank people and they mess up, but it's like, oh, man, they'll have to take the board and off the wall and move it. Like, what even is this, man? Like... Who's like, I'm oligarch? It's sorry, I'm clearly no fan of Michael Bloomberg, but this is like, he's getting dangerously close to complaining online about anything someone mean says to him. And it's starting to get ridiculous. Like, he'll put out a press release. Media, I just want to let you guys know, people are tweeting mean things to me. It's like, because you're a goofball, dude. That's when people tweet mean things at you. Let's just go through the Mike 2020 Twitter account. Let's see what he's tweeting about. Bloom 2020. You know what? I am a sucker for floral print. I would actually buy that shirt if it wasn't for Michael Bloomberg. After he drops out and I find these at a thrift store, I'll buy one of these. I like the floral print look. But what else? What other nonsense is on the Mike 2020? Hey, he's cleaned it up. No meatball Mike. No weird, goofy, ridiculous nonsense. It looks like a real Twitter account for a politician now.
Yeah, it's
kind of
cool.
Unfortunate. I liked it when it was full of kind of avant-garde, goofy nonsense. Hey, here we go, little dog. Ooh, can we see the free stuff he's giving people? No, they don't put that in the pictures as much now. They don't picture the free food and drinks as much as they used to.
The hilarious part is look at that like Mike. If you go up like 5 pictures on like Mike, keep going up. Yeah, look at that picture. There's not a single person in there that I think literally has, like, look at the average age of that audience. Well, all of these people have no idea how to like even on Facebook.
I don't want to be rude, but I do believe that was in Florida. So.
Oh, Retirement Villa, Florida. Hey, well, I got family in Florida.
You know what? Shout out to Mike Bloomberg to pretending he's running a real campaign and treating.
I think he could do really well in Florida, though,
because it's no longer full of awful, cringeworthy memes that don't land, and it's now just got generic pictures. You'll notice it looks like a lot of this stuff's paid content, not a whole lot of organic Bloomberg support. I remember when I learned Tom Steyer had real organic supporters, and I was like, you know what? Whatever people say about Tom Steyer, this guy, shout out to this guy. Do you think this guy is really passionate about Mike Bloomberg, or do you think he's one of those people from that article we read that wants the money? No offense, not impugning the honor of this individual. Again, big time shout out for putting a piece of paper over your webcam. Everyone should do that. Oh, this, by the way.
Dude, you know this is an Epstein didn't kill himself guy.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm still not 1,000,000% convinced he was in the same room as this poster. I think this poster might have been added later on. I don't think I'm not saying that actually did happen.
Well, that's pretty authentic shadowing.
I'm just saying
there.
he could have, but well-used laptop.
And
Check
he's
that
a
out.
healthy eater. Look at this. He's got a bottle of water that's already half drank, so he's ingesting.
He was provided graciously by the Michael Bloomberg campaign.
A Nature Valley bar and a fresh orange.
It's like, you know what?
He's getting a heavy dose of vitamin C, some serious fiber, getting some roughage in there. There's a decent amount of high fructose corn syrup, but not more than the 23 grams of sugar that a body can process during the day. So there's a reason why this guy's still ripped. Look, that guy's like in better shape than I am.
Well, anyway, I just want to point out that Michael, if you
he has no problem posting physique online.
If you work for Michael Bloomberg, he will feed you as well as you feed your 9-year-olds when they play Little League Soccer. You'll get the same diet. But anyway, that's enough about old Mike Bloomberg. I just thought that was kind of funny. He's done it a few times over the last week or so, like just tweet out, "Oh, I'm being harassed, I'm being harassed, I'm being harassed," but then pointing out all of the different campaign offices that have been assaulted today. That was interesting. But the more I look at them, yeah, those are fake. So I guess while we're wrapping up here, I want to go through one more thing. It's a funny Twitter thread, I thought. I think it would be kind of a fun environment to go through it. So somebody came up with, and somebody is a Nicole Najafi. I mean, she's here. You can find her Twitter account. She went through every different politician.
Oh, this is too funny.
And came up. So this is.
I hope she doesn't say something too racy that embarrasses me later on when somebody clips it online, because I haven't seen these yet. But this is just seeing what I see on face value. I'm loving this comedy. Okay, so Nicole Najafi says, "I went on a date with every presidential candidate, so you don't have to." Thread 1 of 9. Bernie Sanders, he picks you up at your apartment and takes you on a subway to Gray's Papaya. He orders 2 recession specials for a total of $10.86, and you split the bill down the middle. Is there a significance to $10.86, or is that just an arbitrary number? Is there any symbolism there in 1086? I can't think of it. But anyway, even though he got a large soda, rough. He yells in your face for 3 hours. You go home and cry into your pillow for 6.
I like the Elizabeth Warren one. Without going too long on it, I just love the idea of
Elizabeth Warren. You meet at 6 a.m. on a Sunday for a hike. She packed a first aid kit, sugar-free snacks, and brought you an extra visor. After mile 5, you're tired and asked to rest. She keeps going without you.
I like that idea. She does seem like that kind of person, right? Where she just, we'll kind of go through a couple of these. The Joe Biden one, like, who cares? Takes you to dinner in the meatpacking district. He orders you a Cosmo before you arrive, like on the new show Sex and the City. They bring up the Brock thing. Michael Bloomberg, this is one of my favorite things. This was the only one that actually got me to laugh. I thought some of these were cute. This one got me laughing. And maybe I am obsessed with Michael Bloomberg. I don't know. He doesn't show up, but he pays for the entire restaurant's meal and texts you an apology in Spanish. Just a weirdo. Tom Steyer, you say vegan samosas at a zero-waste restaurant. Another guy hits on you while he's in the bathroom. Tom comes out and says he doesn't want to get in the middle, and he rides a city bike home. I think he's a billionaire hedge fund manager, right? He's probably got a little more backbone than that.
Okay.
Right. I always like to never underestimate people. Never underestimate some guy who's made billions of dollars. Like he's done something right in his life once. He got billions of dollars. He got lucky too, but it's all luck. He did something right.
He rides a city bike home.
I like the Klobuchar one too. So show up on time, laugh at your jokes, and ask you insightful questions about yourself. You can't help it. Basically, no one cares. She did everything right. Hey, you know what, Amy? You did everything right, but I don't care.
Okay.
Tulsi Gabbard. I don't know if this person liked or didn't like Tulsi, but I wanted to just get to the Andrew Yang one. This was pretty funny. So he takes you to a restaurant opening and pays for dinner in Bitcoin. You bring him to a party where he knows no one. By the end of the room, chants his name while he does keg stands. I do believe Andrew Yang more or less abstains from alcohol when possible, but I thought that was funny.
No, but it's the mojo, It's like I'm going to own the room. I like that. That's pretty cool.
He's charismatic. He'll win over. But yeah, I thought that was kind of funny. Yeah. Nothing really important there. Just kind of funny.
Yeah, so there's a lot of calls to go through them all, Cody. There's a lot of calls to go through them all. Is there any that we missed? Well, is that a video?
The Pete one. That's about
Pete
it.
Buttigieg. He takes you to an Afghan restaurant and orders the entire meal in Dari. A man of color walks by and he says, "What's up, my brother? You leave the emergency room at 5."
But see, again, the thing from this, I wouldn't put past Pete Buttigieg being some weird
and he would say, "Well, I know Ebonics."
No, not even like that. Like
it's my 8th language.
You ever seen the movie Drive? That scene in the elevator when he's stomping on the guy. It's it just comes out of nowhere and it's really brutal. What's going on? I feel like that's what would happen. Someone would try to fight Pete Buttigieg and you'd go into a CIA training and he'd do the Steven Seagal break your nose into your brain and kill you and you'd be like, Jesus, what's wrong with this guy? You'd be like, oh, sorry about that. my training kicked in. You know what I mean? I don't know. I feel like he's one of those dudes I would never want to cross the Pete Buttigieg. I feel like who knows what kind of weird nonsense he'd pull out, you know?
Yeah.
Some kind of like Krav Maga, like ACL snapping attack. Like, dude, what is this?
Yeah. We're getting a lot of questions actually about California's OBI, almost UBI. Cody, do you have any opinions on that? I've got mine, but I don't want to just...
I haven't read through all of it yet, so not really. I want to read through more of it. That's why
we wanted to interview the state senator.
Yeah, but that's also why I haven't done
like
a video on it yet, because I am lagging behind.
I mean, I got to tell you right now,
everything that's in it sounds cool though.
Dude, I really think California already has enough money to execute a solid UBI to all citizens. I really think it does. I've looked at. I mean, people don't realize we are the 7th largest economy in the world. I mean, by the archaic measurement of GDP, our state has, if we were our own military, we would be the 5th strongest military in the world. We literally could wage war with the rest of the United States. Like, I don't think people realize that.
Dude, we have 5 professional baseball teams.
Yeah, we've got 5 professional baseball teams. I think we've got, 3 national parks, and of the 11 biggest tourist attractions in North America, we have like 7 of the 11. Look, Disneyland is here. All right.
Yeah, Disneyland.
But I mean, really, people don't realize
it's
that
the main national park.
That I really think, and this is part of the reason
the
why
great city of Sacramento, huh? How about that tourist
and that bridge.
Yeah.
They got that bridge
People
that goes
come
over
from
the
all
Sacramento
over the world
River.
to go to Sacramento, California to see where the government is.
Yeah, and so Anthony Gamboni says, Cardin, we have Navy SEALs. Yeah, and they train at Camp Pendleton. Yeah, we got them too. And the truth is that we literally, for the same reason I said Andrew Yang running for New York City mayor, I think would be cool, because New York individually with its, 11 to 14 million people, depending on the day, could institute its own kind of pilot program of UBI. They already have enough money and infrastructure to pull it off. I think California could, but it's so corrupt, so drenched in just bad, like not the good Democrats, the bad Democrats. I mean, supposedly we're the most liberal environmentalist state, but in 50 years we haven't reintroduced any bears back into the forest, any wolves, nothing. While there's red states all over the West that are doing the same.
They got to build suburbs that take away habitats for those animals.
No, they don't even let you build that. Why do you think housing is so expensive? We have since 1979 when Democrats took over. This is a fact. This is a stat.
While that is true, you also know there is exceptions, like various communities in the greater Los Angeles area where they have done nothing but build suburban developments for 20 years without ceasing.
Well, that's because it's private. Like Santa Clarita's that way, but that's because it's private land.
It's not enough, but I'm just saying they do both, man. They don't care either way.
No,
they'll do both.
No, but I'm talking about since 1979 when Democrats took over in the state Senate, and they've never lost a majority since then. We have never approved as many building permits as we've needed for just family of 4 housing. We've never actually approved as many permits as our population has grown. There's never been a year where we've been able to match our population growth. And we're not even talking illegal immigration. We're just talking birth rate stuff here. Okay.
Well, that would include legal immigration.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, but none of it. We've never been able to come even close. So built into our system is a permanent rise that is exponential and percentage based of the value of housing here, which makes it unaffordable within 2 generations.
But also there's a problem with Los Angeles. One of the more deceiving things about Los Angeles specifically, not so much they have a different problem in Northern California. Northern California, there's a lot of terrain that's also difficult to build in. Like there's parts of California where you wouldn't have to tear down forests to build anything.
Yeah. So
it's just unfortunately it's the Mojave Desert and people don't want to live out there. Yeah, so we'll get those right now. But I just wanted to bring it up. They will build, and they'll build fast, and they'll build like crazy. But it's 300 miles away from the water, and you have to get used to it. So anyway, Ron Henderson, $2 super chat, said, "Well, they need to try something for the homeless." I agree. And then
no. Hold on.
Super chat. Can you comment on the Simpsons episode in automation? I haven't seen that.
No, they don't need to try something for the homeless. We have 15 homeless programs already that are all just leaking sieves of corrupt money.
Consolidates to one,
and then they pass this like $64 million bond of tax money saying that, oh, now you have to pay more in taxes for Measure H for the homeless. And they're spending like $600,000 per mobile home that only can fit like 3 or 4 homeless people. Meanwhile, Elvis Summers, the guy that you and I interviewed on our 98.1 FM program,
tiny homes, very cool stuff,
is building tiny homes that only cost $1,500 each,
and they won't let them build them. It's
ridiculous.
ridiculous.
And so Eric Garcetti is literally giving $750,000 per homeless person. No, that is beyond the try something. We haven't tried something. We've tried everything
but like
plus one on steroids times 10.
But like you described, not in earnest. They tried everything into the bounds
we can't give them any more money.
I agree. There'd have to be some better way of doing it, like consolidating under a state UBI plan and not funding anything else. Right?
Well, that's why I'm saying that California individually, if we just eliminated our homeless programs and did like the state of Utah did and said, yeah, we're gonna institute a UBI for the homeless.
It would help. Yes.
Yeah. And you got to prove to me that you're homeless, meaning like you don't actually own a home so you can't get free UBI. Even if we just did that amongst the homeless, okay, we would be giving them exponentially better amounts of service and lifestyle upgrades.
Well, the bigger problem is this, though. There's no infrastructure or facility.
Than what they got now.
Well, no, but there's no infrastructure or facility aside for the streets from a large population of people. There's nowhere else. I don't want to say to put them. That's the wrong way of putting it. But you understand. There's nothing else to catch these people. They just end up on the streets. There's a lot of people that they're not going to fit into the current workforce. And if they don't have family to support them, they just end up on the street.
Yeah.
And there's no government infrastructure for it. I think, like all things, if you can catch them there when they're about to hit the streets, and I say them, I mean, any person, if you catch them when they're about to hit the streets with government aid, it's probably cheaper than after they've been on the street for 10 years, right? Like, I think that's the problem, is that it's the same thing with a lot of stuff. It's what's going on, where there needs to be better catches in place along the way, but because there isn't, things look so bad, people are like, well, just blow it up, I guess. Who knows? Do crazy things like Measure H in Los Angeles County. Los Angeles County raised their sales tax, which is one of the highest in the country, by like 0.25% to raise money for homeless stuff. We still have so many people.
It went up 16% after Measure H, and it had already gone up like 20% after the sales tax increase.
It'd be one thing if it was helping. It's not helping. It's not like it drives me crazy. I don't even go to Los Angeles anymore because you just see it. And it's like, yeah, but it's almost like the government doesn't care about these people at all. Like I think it was Adam Carolla who said it, but it's a great point. It's like there's certain streets in LA. I don't know how anyone could drive down that street and say, I represent this street, and then go home and go to sleep at night as a politician. It's like, why are they doing nothing?
Dude, I mean, we literally have diseases. We have diseases in City Hall you haven't heard of since Mark Twain wrote his
I know, because you know where a lot of those come from? A lot of those come from garbage piling up the city, which won't clean.
Yeah.
I was trying to find the story. There was one where the person kept saying, we called City Hall like every week saying, there's garbage piling up. It's going to lead to disease. There's garbage piling up. And they just never came. So there we go. It's our tax dollars at work. Gotta love Los Angeles' non-corrupt government.
It's a trash heap once you go into city limits.
Anyway, Rockley, $2 said, will the moderates endorse Mike when they drop out? Depends if he's paying, right? J-Watt, $5.
He'll endorse them.
Hate to say it, but Californians are ruining the housing economy in Oregon. No offense. Oh, I'm sure they are.
Oh, no, we're ruining it in Idaho, in Utah, in Texas, in Nevada.
Anywhere that touches us. And then Fred Chung, is California going to be split up yet? Not quite yet, but
So, that was a big worry in the 30s.
No, it's never going to happen, I don't think. I think it's too dramatic.
The reason why they built the 5 freeway in the 30s was because they were worried about a secession between North and Southern California.
It's also just very useful to have a road that extends from the whole length of the state of California. You'd be surprised how often, like every single day when I get in a freeway, people take that freeway. But no, what I wanted to say more was there's a movement going on for parts of Northern California to merge with greater Idaho. Have you heard about that? I think it's Washington,
there's
California. Anyway.
There's Oregon counties that are trying to merge into Idaho.
That makes more sense to me because it doesn't have all the weird issues of creating a 51st state. You know, we don't have to say, okay, so what's the senator thing? You don't have to worry about any of that. It's just a state gets bigger and a state gets smaller. Maybe that we'd see something like that, like maybe Northern California joins Washington, right? I have no idea, but
no way, because Northern California is too cocky. They don't think Washington is worthy.
So the inverse, but then what?
No, Northern California would literally you already saw that bill that was 2 elections ago in not the 2018, but the Oh, yeah, it was the 2018 election where it was the California secession from the Union. And then there was a response to it where all of the Republican counties that weren't the coastal counties said, no, you guys can secede and start your own country. We're just fine. You know what I'm
But
saying?
I just mean, like, as far as nationally, the idea of making it 51st state sounds crazy to me. But the idea of 2 states shifting their border, that could probably realistically happen, right? Just moving a border, that just seems easier. I feel like
But
so
in a heartbeat,
much
Trump
has
would
to
call it
happen.
rebellion. In a heartbeat,
no, but
Trump would pull an Abraham
Rebellion,
Lincoln
if
say,
2 states agree, what rebellion is there? It's basically a negotiation between 2 states. It actually, as a states' rights person, I would be very upset if the federal
if they were
government
forming their
intervened.
own state.
No, but if
yes.
the federal government intervened at 2 states,
But their
just
own country would
wanting
be
to
rebellion.
renegotiate. Oh yeah, but if they just want to renegotiate the border of the states, dude, that's up to both states. If they want to negotiate a deal where they say, hey, we'll have certain agreements with you and we'll give you this land in exchange for X, that's got to be legal. Not legal, but something that the federal government can't get their hands in. That being said, there would have to be moments. For example, if California is like, so, Washington, what if we just took all of your coast, all of it was just ours now, and you have none of it, and you get nothing? Like, I think then the federal government should step in, right? But if there's like a balanced, I don't know. I feel like states should reserve that right. Anyway, we have a $5 super chat from MP. He said, hey, Card and hey, Oracle, what is your take on Bloomberg comment on Bernie being a communist?
Loved it.
I think he got it right between the two. I rather have
BB Bloomberg.
Oh, BB Bloomberg. Yeah, I mean, I feel like there's an endless, eternal semantic argument. Is Bernie a communist, social democrat?
He's a communist.
Is he a democratic socialist?
He's never had a communist regime he hasn't complimented, lauded, or just gushed over like it was a prom date he never got to marry.
I would say that's the bigger thing. Is Bernie Sanders definitely has not put himself in a position where he can get too upset if someone accuses him of being a communist. I mean, very recently, I get it wasn't him, but like one of his surrogates commented on Andrew Yang's 2024 tease tweet going capitalist. Like there's definitely this idea of he has no problem. Tell you what, Bernie Sanders definitely doesn't care if you're a communist. He's super down with you. So yes, maybe he is technically a democratic socialist. Technically what he does is this. Technically he's proposing X, Y, or Z. But I would say for what Bernie Sanders is proposing, who he aligns himself with, who he praises, and how he talks, it's a fair criticism. He could argue he isn't a communist. I'm not saying he is one, but I would definitely say it's fair to say at this point where it's like, well, I mean, you pay communists. You have communists work as surrogates. You have no problem with communists. You praise communists. Like, I don't think it's crazy to accuse you of perhaps being one yourself. Is he actually? Who knows, man? It can go on forever. But is it a fair accusation? It's a fair accusation. Of course it is. Like I don't know. He definitely. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I've never heard Bernie Sanders come out and say. And again, maybe he has condemned communism, but I don't think he has condemned communism. Like I think he just claims, oh no, I have a better idea. It's more of like a democratic socialism. But like, yeah, he's put himself in a position where it's a pretty fair accusation.
Hey, Jay Watt brings up a good point
and
in his chat.
No state would give up tax money to another state. Well, I mean, I agree.
You'd have to show you're not a drain.
Unlikely, but do you see though if like 2 states agree where it's like, hey, we'll give you these counties in exchange for this or that, right? I mean,
yeah, they'd have to prove that they were self-sufficient because they're kind of like immigrant counties, for lack of a better term.
What if they do this? Remember, also this as well. What if when one state, they redraw the border lines, there's natural resources and stuff, A.
Yeah.
B, there's also infrastructure. There could be roads, various water infrastructure, various things that are handled by the state and not the federal government that one state would be turning over to another. I mean, that could be something else where they're like, hey, we'll build a road that goes through 3 or 4 states and we'll help fund a majority of it. Yeah, there's got to be some stuff. I'm not what would that be? A state's constitutional lawyer? I don't know even what you call it. I definitely
a constitutional lawyer. That's all.
I'm not a constitutional lawyer. I don't help states redraw borders, but I have to imagine there is somewhere fair trades that do exist, right?
Sterling Jacobs brings up a good plan that we do need to indeed engage in Donald Trump's idea of buying Greenland.
I mean, if the United States could just legally purchase any large piece of land,
it would be like the
resources,
Louisiana Purchase.
I kind of feel like, why not? Like, I agree we shouldn't invade Greenland, but if we could just buy it for cash, like, I don't see what the big deal is. Like, yeah, we shouldn't invade Canada, but if we can buy Toronto, I don't know, maybe that would help. Like, actually, Greenland would be way better than Toronto. Greenland is like resources.
Now, Google Andrew Yang says changing state borders requires congressional approval. It's interesting. I would want to fact check
Does
what
it really?
the official process
That
is.
feels
I
like
don't.
states' rights to me.
I was about
right
to say
there.
to me that I'll tell you this right now.
But I guess the federal government would have to acknowledge the border, right? So maybe
yeah.
that's why?
I wonder what the official
Someone pointed
legal
that out.
process
Yeah,
is.
the federal government acknowledges the borders, but it's still like.
Yeah, I don't think they need permission from the federal government, though. Do you see what I'm saying? I don't think they would need permission. There would be an acknowledgement. But there's no way if, for example, Louisiana says, we're going to buy 500,000 acres of the bayou from Mississippi. Or actually, no, Mississippi's over there. It would be Alabama. You know what I'm saying? That we're going to buy 500,000 acres of the bayou from Alabama. They're going to sell it to us. And we've got state treasury money to purchase it. I mean,
because someone asked in the chat, they said, why would we want to buy Greenland when we can't take care of Puerto Rico? Because no one lives in Greenland.
Well, and also Puerto Rico needs to vote. Puerto Rico's people need to vote to become a state.
It's worth,
we can't just conquer them. They're a protectorate. That's it.
And it's also worth noting they get some things out of they get things out of not voting for statehood.
Oh, by the way, we can take care of.
But still, again, the point stands. No one lives in Greenland. That's why we're not adopting any major. What's the biggest city in Greenland?
Hey! The Danish don't appreciate that. I think there's a solid 10,000 people in Greenland.
What's the story from? I think it's Mighty Ducks 3 when they tell the story about how they named
Greenland is very full of ice. Iceland is very nice.
Deceiving names. Greenland was the country you didn't want to go to. You wanted to go to Iceland, and no one actually. I feel bad. You know what? Maybe we got some. If we have Greenland viewers, by the way, shout out to you for watching. But
dude, there's 56,000 people in Greenland.
That's what I mean.
That's why, literally less than the population of one borough of our hometown suburb.
And there's a lot of. I know it's unfortunate for the environment, but there's a lot of trees. I believe there's oil. There's stuff in Greenland worth taking. So yes, there's a reason why you'd bring in a small. That's the size of a small suburb in America, but it's a country that's huge.
Hey, so Tyler Robinson,
resources, it's pretty good, you know.
So Tyler Robinson has a super chat says 50 states is outdated. We should add PR. I assume he means Puerto Rico, U.S. VI, which I assume means Virgin Islands, U.S. Samoa, Washington, D.C., and all of the current U.S. territories as state to expand rights of citizens. Okay, I agree with the sentiment, but there's a reason why none of these states have been included, my friend. First off, Puerto Rico has multiple times been offered a referendum and voted not to become a state because they don't want to pay a lot of the taxes. And when people say, oh, why can't we take care of Puerto Rico? We can, but every time we send aid, it ends up getting sucked up by their corrupt officials. And like you guys saw 2 weeks ago, all the firefighters find hundreds of thousands of gallons of water bottles and life-saving aid equipment that was sent down there and was just hoarded for sale in multiple warehouses by the same who's the female governor? The not intendente, that's how you say mayor in Spanish.
But I will say this.
But the anti-Trump
normally
not prime minister.
How do you feel about this? Normally I'm so against this kind of rhetoric.
Yeah.
But when it's actually a legitimately provably corrupt government, when they found all of that the water and stuff, the aid stored away, the people marched on the Capitol building carrying a guillotine. So it definitely, if you want to know how people in Puerto Rico felt about how their government was doing things, that was how they felt.
So I bet you
normally,
now.
I don't like the idea of guillotining people, but if it is a legitimately provably corrupt government that's killing people, yeah, you know what, man? Sometimes unfortunate thing happens to people. You would never believe the things that happen to people in this country. Or I guess in this country.
So let me just continue going down the list. So we can't just add Puerto Rico. Okay, the people have to vote on it, and multiple times they voted it down because they like getting the free military protection as a protectorate. They like getting the free mandatory aid from all the federal programs, and they like all the travel and the trade. But we don't have to pay state taxes. No, that sucks. We don't have to actually pay for the freebies. So that's actually a Puerto Rican people problem. Okay,
well, really not a problem with them. It's just there is legitimately things you get from not giving.
Well, our first domestic terrorist.
There's reasons to not be a state and to be because
let's not forget.
You give certain freedoms. You get things, but you give certain freedoms. I think it's just that simple. Like a lot of them like the autonomy of not necessarily being a state.
But also, let's not forget that when we actually formed the in the mid-90s, the counterterrorism organization. I don't think it was called Department of Homeland Security then, but one of the first task forces ever created of anti-terrorism wasn't against radical Islam. It was against the Puerto Rican Liberation Army, and Obama ended up pardoning the guy. They were responsible for 8 bombings in continental United States of America throughout the 80s and the 90s.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like, trust me, it's not like Puerto Rico's banging down the door to become a state.
Well,
they have to vote on it.
I think that will change, though.
No, I think it would change now after this scandal. Yes.
I think like they've said, okay, if being our own territory, not being a state, means giving up the oversight that allowed this to happen, it's not worth it. Because, if they had like a senator and a congressperson, and I think they have some smaller, you know what I mean? If it was like they're part of the U.S. and it was a state, they wouldn't allow the. Actually, though, you know what, though? Let me walk all that back. Dude, didn't Trump have to just pardon a governor of a state for taking bribes? And like this stuff does still happen in America. Like, it's not like but it is. I do agree that, you know, you get more federal oversight as a state. But who else? How many other people? How many corrupt people go to jail? Hunter Duncan, the vaping congressman, locally. Not locally, but from California. He didn't go to jail, but you know what? When I found out that. Because I remember that I heard talking about this. He was the guy.
Oh, he was corrupt. He was a Republican.
No,
I hate to see my Republican
politicians
brothers.
all corrupt. He spent like $1,500 in Steam games. Like campaign funds.
Campaign funds.
And then, but of course, I was trying to remember. I'm like, who? By the way, if any of you guys forgot about this guy, so we're off the rails a little bit. We're coming up to the end here. I apologize. But any of you guys who forgot about this guy, there is the vaping congressman. Let's pull him up. Hunter Duncan. Now, part of me feels like, why did it have to be him of all people? But this individual right here, the vaping congressman, of course, he's the corrupt jerk who was spending his campaign funds on booze all over the place and got ran out of the house. This guy is the vaping congressman. I want to... Now, as somebody who in my past did sell vaping products to people as part of my career, I do try to defend...
well, you work for a legitimate cigarette shop. Okay, let's
clarify
what your career is.
I try to defend people who vape. Nothing wrong with vaping, but oh my God, I got to watch a 50-second ad first. I'm going to pull it up on YouTube. Shout outs to MSNBC Video. However, there's a part of me that's like, come on, dude, it really has to be you. It's got to be the vaping congressman that's just like totally corrupt. So let's watch this. Here we go. In living color, the vaping congressman.
Boom shakalaka. Right here, baby.
I love what's posted by a vapor channel. Congressman Duncan Hunter. Here we go. Historic moment. Somebody vaped a congressman vaped, I think, in a congressional hearing. So that's it's a legendary moment. But like I said, this guy also spent thousands of dollars on booze and video games of his campaign funds.
Well, okay, so hold on.
And is no longer in office because he resigned in shame. So very unfortunate, but he did break new ground. He set history. In the future, when they have the Vaping Hall of Fame, that pen better be in there. It was the first vaping pen used by American political representative.
I don't know if I call that a vaping pen. That's like a vaping wand. No, a vaping.
No, I know what that is. It's just
staff.
No, that's pretty generic.
Okay, so anyway, we keep going down the list. I'm not sure what keeps U.S. Virgin Islands or U.S. Samoa from becoming a state, but Washington, D.C. also purposefully is not ever supposed to be a state. Because the founding fathers knew that where the capital of the federal government is should never be under duress of statesmen, congressmen, or senators. It should be its own isolated pseudo-state that does not have a senator and does not have congressmen and so on and so forth. It does vote in national elections, and I can't remember the exact... I don't remember all of the usual. I don't remember all the rhetoric around the exact rhetoric of what representation Washington, D.C. has, but I do remember that it was specifically set aside so that the capital would not be under duress. Because, for example, what if some state senator comes up and says, in my state, we got to outlaw white paint, which means we are painting the White House pink, like they did the Casa Rosada in Argentina. They didn't want to mess around with those kind of games. So they said, look, the capital's got to be its own thing, and it's going to be the District of Columbia, also known as Washington, D.C. Okay, so 50 states is not necessarily outdated. It just seems to be that's the natural hierarchy of where our growth seems to have stopped. And now I don't think we could negotiate a new state in because men are no longer men in office, and they're all just a bunch of corrupt pansies. And the Empire State Building was built in 88 days. We wouldn't even get through union negotiations if we are trying to build the Empire State Building again, let alone being able to negotiate the purchase, movement, or incorporation of a new state.
I also wonder, though, how many people died making the Empire State Building, you think?
Dude, I don't know. Let's look it up because I can tell you. Like,
by the way, I want to source. I want to show you guys this. That my man, Duncan Hunter or Hunter Duncan, something like that. He spent $1,300 of his campaign money on Steam games. Dude, let me tell you something. I have hundreds of games in my Steam account. I didn't spend $1,300. I'm like, this guy was paying full price for tons of games.
Dude, look at this.
$1,300. Oh, by the way, thank you. Shout out to the San Diego. Anyone want stories they can dig in their inbox every morning? You can sign up on San Diego Tribune. But
hey,
isn't that crazy, man? $1,300. Like I said, man, it's got to be my boy, the vaping congressman of all people. I wonder how much he spent on vaping. Did they say? Didn't say.
No, but these pictures, bro, are absolutely harrowing. Official accounts say only 5 people died. The Socialist magazine in New York at the time claimed 14 people died. So I don't believe the Socialists because they were probably obviously pushing an angle. But I'm sure that maybe the official reports excluded probably 1 or 2 other deaths that they might have been responsible for, but tried to blame other things on. But still,
I would definitely not believe the official government number on how many people died building the Empire State Building.
Well, no, that was a private project, I believe, back then. That was not a government project.
Still,
that was a private development.
It was a big boon for the city of New York. I don't think they want to say,
tallest building in the world at the time.
I don't think the city of New York wanted it to be labeled as like this like pillar of death that like consumed the lives. You know what I mean? Like they definitely wanted it to be as this great landmark. Also, I don't think the concept of a bunch of people dying building a huge building was that foreign to people. And what was that? 1547? When did they build the Empire State Building? It wasn't 1547.
The Empire State Building? It wouldn't be 1547. Columbus didn't have a chance to see it.
Are you sure it wasn't 1547 when they built it?
It was built in 1930.
Okay.
And you know what's kind of cool about it is that actually, the spire on top of the Empire State Building?
Yeah.
That was actually built to be a Zeppelin docking bay because it was actually believed that the wealthy elites, when this thing was originally getting built in the 1920s, would occupy the penthouses of all the tall buildings. And instead of going down the elevators and having to associate with the riffraff and the rabble, that they would actually be able to take luxurious airships.
Oh, death balloons.
From
nice.
Yeah. This is pre-Hindenburg, obviously. But they believed that they were going to be able to take airships from one penthouse suite to another penthouse suite. And that's how they travel. And if you look it up, you can see a picture of the Hindenburg docking on the... Look at this. Hindenburg
so crazy
docking.
People flew around in giant death balloons until finally the giant death balloons
Well, it's because
off.
we had an embargo on helium with Germany, so they filled it with hydrogen. Yeah. We have the only reserve of helium.
Did Germany? They did use Zeppelins
Look at this picture,
I don't think
dog.
Germany used Zeppelins till the 70s, right? Like I think they're kind of... Actually, I think there's a fascinating thing. I think the Goodyear blimp's like one of the few remaining Zeppelins in the world. But anyway, J Watt, $10 super chat. Congress keeps screwing over D.C. residents at the same time. We can make D.C. a state. Founders also didn't foresee the internet invading markets and elections. Circumstances change. Big time, yeah. I definitely agree with that. That it's like you could say... Like, it's kind of the argument you can make with California, right? You could say it's one state, but it's like if there's two
what I think we should
large areas that can communicate, and like you don't have to be the same state anymore. I don't know, man.
You know what I'd be down with? I'd be down because Washington, D.C. is extremely populous now. It's more populous than Rhode Island, I think. There's plenty of states that I think are smaller, and so you want people to have representation, right? I'd be okay with incorporating Washington, D.C. as a state if the White House got to be like the Vatican. If we just made the incorporated space a lot smaller.
Know what they should do?
They
should, you know what I think you're talking about arrogance? I feel like D.C. would never let itself get annexed. D.C. would annex like some state. Like D.C. would annex Virginia. It's like you're D.C. now. There is no Virginia anymore. It's like, oh, God.
Hey, you got to pull up the picture of the Zeppelin docking on the Empire State Building.
Did you send it to me?
Yeah, it's in Discord, brother.
That is a artistic rendition.
No, here's another one.
There's no way that's real. There's no way. I refuse to believe this is real. This is a dramatic reinterpretation of what it could look like.
Oh my gosh. No, dog. The Hindenburg docked. Here's other pictures of it. And it was interesting because when the
dude, I believe you that it happened. I'm just saying.
Just Google Hindenburg docking.
I'm just saying that ain't a picture of it, dude. There's
dog.
No way.
Dog. Okay,
There's
look. Here's the deal. When it was built, I just Discorded you another picture.
No way that's real.
Oh crap, same picture came up. What's interesting is when the Chrysler building was built, it was the tallest building in the world. And the guy that was building the Empire State Building knew the ego of the other architectural firm. And so he purposefully designed it to be about I think it was 20 feet shorter than the Chrysler building. And then once both plans were approved, he submitted like a day before the deadline or something, an addendum to his plans to add that whole big spire that would then make it, after construction had already started on the Chrysler building, so they couldn't get any more approvals, that would then make the Empire State Building the tallest building in the world. And it stood as the tallest building in the world for 40 years.
Cool. Now
40 years, dog, before we got that weird little thing in Dubai.
Well, I thought, isn't there a giant tower in China as well? It's like in construction to be one day the largest, I thought.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if the Chinese were trying to pull off some kind of feat like that.
Yeah. You know what I think, maybe you guys in chat disagree with me. I think you disagree with me. I am all for bringing back great engineering feats.
Yeah,
like
totally.
Nations aspiring to the largest suspension bridge.
Yeah,
of
how
all
do we
time.
not have a
Like,
space program? We call ourselves a superpower.
do.
We don't have a space program. Come on, we're not going to the moon regularly.
Well,
We're a bunch of chumps.
Who
that
is
are,
going to the moon regularly?
Yeah, because we're all just mired.
As
in all
far as
this
I know,
crap.
only Americans have been on the moon. Am I wrong?
Did Russia? I think did not.
Did they
you're
go
right.
on
Russia,
the moon? Like walk on the moon?
I don't think Russia actually stepped foot on the moon. I think they might have orbited it. Maybe.
That's why I love every 4th of July. We get the post whenever
they were
whenever,
first to get human. No, they're first to get an animal in
whenever
space.
any Europeans, the first, as far as first, Russia
and Sputnik obviously.
Russia had
was.
most of the firsts. I think just we were the only people crazy enough to have someone walk around. Well, hold on, we're the only people crazy enough to have someone walk around on the moon. And film it live and broadcast it back to Earth. We're the only country I think that was mad enough to pull that off. I could be wrong, but I just feel like if there was other footage of people walking around on the moon, I would have seen it, right? Like that sounds pretty crazy. Sounds pretty spectacular, right? Like more moon footage. I'm down for all kinds of moon footage. Show me all the moon footage. I want to see all of it. So
yeah, but did you?
If there has been Russian moonwalkers,
landing, dog?
show them to me.
I don't think they faked the moon.
Oh, why would
landing.
they? Why? I have a better question. Why would they do such a thing? Why would they fake the moon landing, man?
That's propaganda.
No, why would they do that? No reason, right? Ron Henderson, $2 says, how are new businesses going to start if you got to pay $15? You don't have employees. Exactly. Yeah. How do you start a business employees? You just don't. And that's unless and then
it's just you or family. And family.
Yeah,
that's
but
it.
then you could also get into like, okay, but then they can come up with like, do you know how you start a business? You start a business with a federal program that creates certain incentives that actually alleviate basically the government would foot part of the bill for you through programs. I could see them doing that, right? If you're a small business and you've been open for less than 5 years and you have less than 3 employees,
yeah, but that's prohibitive.
You can pay $750; they'll cover $750.
But see,
I'm not saying it's good. I'm just
Yeah.
saying I could see them trying something dumb like that, right?
Yeah, and all that would do is stifle the growth of business because then all these people
I
with really good ideas
I
would
wouldn't
just
vote for it. I'm just
It's
how I think they would try to get around it. It's how I think they would do it, and it would be one of those. It would be one of those weird, confusing moments that happens dealing with the government all the time, where you step back and you're like, well, wait a minute. Wouldn't it be easier if just none of this existed? Yeah, it would be. Anyway, Ducky Hodges with $2 super chat said, "Hey guys, conspiracy videos." LOL. Hey, no conspiracies here, man. I can't think of one legitimate reason for why the United States of America would pretend we went to the moon. I just think it's such. America's so awesome. We've done this thing no one else has ever really done before, and ever since. Even though it'd be pretty cool, I want to see more footage from the moon. I mean, hey, if they live streamed the moon in 1926, imagine what they could do in 2020, man. Imagine, can you fly a drone on the moon, or is everything technically a drone on the moon, right? So I don't know, man. I would love to see videos of Chinese or Indian or Russian. Hey, India's been talking about for years getting into space. Why isn't like a country like that been like, hey, you don't believe in our space power? Boom, Ukraine's on the moon. Like, how come no one else has done it?
Because they're too busy being corrupt with the money they could do it with. This is perfect example. Why
isn't North Korea done it? Why isn't North Korea stolen the stars? I don't get it, man.
Because they don't have an education program.
They can't mobilize everyone?
No, it's because of their isolationism makes it so they don't have an educational program that can breed enough physicists in order to figure it out without the assistance of Russia or the United States of America.
We went to the moon before like 70% of the things in the studio existed.
Yeah. And we did it on computing technology less than our iPhone, less than a TI-83. A TI-83 back in the 90s had more programming juice, okay, than all those freaking supercomputers over there at NASA.
I just want to see.
That's pretty amazing.
I want to see more. Like forget any reason why. I just legitimately want to see more footage from space. Like, we legitimately don't have a lot of live camera, not even live, just recorded camera footage.
Well, because
of
back
people
then we didn't even have digital
space.
photography.
I get it. But that's what I mean. Let's go back and do it again with better cameras now. We can see more now. Like, look at the cameras they were using back then. Imagine how cool it would look seeing the moon now. Remember when they did that Super Bowl commercial a couple of years ago? It was like live, and they had like the drones flying. It was like military bases for like, I don't know, the Budweiser Dodge Durango version or something. I don't know what it was. You know what I mean? Like, why don't we do something cool like that? Like, imagine how awesome that would look. How cool of a spectacle it would be. And again, I don't see why. I mean, hold on. It's obviously very hard. But, dude, I remember, seriously, for years, India's been talking about getting their space program going. Like, why hasn't one of these countries that's been trying to prove they're developing a program for, like, a space, for example? I guess
I'll tell you.
It's very expensive, right?
Are you ready?
It's too expensive, probably.
No.
It's kind of a waste of money. But still, like, it'd be cool.
No, they've got the money, and we got a bunch of super chats to pick up on here, right? They got the money, but for example, when I was in Argentina, I was in a small town called Escobar, and there was this beloved mayor there called Patti, and he was a member of the Black Faces, which were the people that had actually fought against the military junta, that was just this brutal dictatorship of nothing but a bunch of military generals. And so anyway, he became popular, and he was so beloved by his people. You want to know why? Because he paved most of Escobar. He paved the streets, right? And when he was asked by the news media that was coming up out of Buenos Aires saying, dude, why are you such a popular governor? Like, where's all of the money coming from? How are you raising the funds in order to pave all your streets? This is miraculous. Nobody paves streets in Argentina. And he looked in the camera and he says, it's simple. I take the money that the government gives me from the capital to pave the streets, and then I pay the company that paves streets to do it without stealing it. Wild things happen when you just use money that was allotted for paving. You know what I'm saying? And he was heralded as this amazing avant-garde leader for simply not stealing public funds. And it's so bad and rank and corrupt in Argentina that people think there's no money for paving roads because just all of the politicians take the road paving money. So that's how India could do it.
Well,
India could do it that way.
I think, but the other argument that every country's made ever since is just that there's way better uses for funds. And there was obviously it was different when it was, I mean, we went to the moon how many years after the conclusion of the Second World War? Like, there was basically Russia, America, and no one else that was doing anything at the time. Everyone else was kind of reeling, I guess you could say, in the 50s.
The English were helping. The English were nice.
There was actually one country there's one country the United States of America owes everything to. We would have never been to the moon if it wasn't for the great redacted people from the amazing state of Redacted that helped us get to the moon.
Yeah, I was about to say Operation Paperclip is what you're referring to.
There's like one dude in particular. I forgot his name. It's they're like
he was the head of NASA for 40 years.
Like this, without this, dude, we would have never been able to pull this off. Like, wow, I wonder how many mistakes in your past get overlooked when you're that valuable, right? So I want to go over a couple things. I think Ron Henderson sounds like more bureaucracy could see it, though. Yeah, that's what we need, more bureaucracy. $5 from Michael Alexander. As much as I hate Hillary, all she had to say is we're going back to the moon, and she would have had my vote.
Dude, there's some truth to that,
man. That legitimately helped Trump telling people he wanted to move to space. And then Ducky Hodges, did Paul McCartney die in 1966? I'm sure Paul McCartney did. Well, no, hold on. No, Paul McCartney did not die in 1966. He's still alive.
Oh.
Werner von Braun. Thank you very much. That was the name of the guy I was looking for. Very smart individual. Genius, one would say. Like I said, when you're a genius, it's amazing the stuff that you can get away with, right? It's amazing the indiscretions that are in your past, whatever. And you know what's funny? I think Amazon just made a brand new TV series. I wonder what those people thought about Werner von Braun. You know what I'm talking about? I wonder what they thought about people like him. Like, oh, he's on television getting awards. That's cool.
Yeah, so Sterling Jacobs brings up a good question. He says, could a candidate run on massively improving America's infrastructure? And I would actually argue yes.
Of course, they could.
It's one of those few things that everybody can agree on, yet nobody talks about. And it's actually kind of like immigration in Trump's running. He took it from like issue number 14, stuck it up as like issue number 1 or 2 or 3 in most stump speeches.
I would say though, if infrastructure was a winning platform, somebody like people probably have tried.
No, because the
infrastructure.
groupthink's not there, bro.
Not even
the groupthink isn't
people,
there.
I guarantee you, there's been Senate or House races. People tried running on infrastructure and lost. Probably definitely Senate, right? I can see big time. I am going to go to DC and get the resources to fight and fix our infrastructure. And they probably don't win. And they're like, yeah, don't do that. It doesn't work. Now,
yeah,
it also depends on what you mean by infrastructure. For example, as a Los Angeles resident, if you told me you wanted to fix the roads, like actually fix the roads, like actually address them, like not just put signs up and have endless construction, but fix the roads, you know, like fill potholes, that kind of stuff, yeah, I'd vote for him. But there's also probably a lot of parts of the country they'd be like, dude, fix roads. What are you even talking about? We have way bigger problems, right? So I think that's nationally, I think it's a losing message, I think. Because also, it means different things. For example, talk about Flint, Michigan and the water. Like that would, I consider water part of the infrastructure, right? Like it's all part of it. So you'd have to, I don't know. I think it's almost like there's got to be like a nice succinct way of putting this, but in politics, if you have to get into like a third sentence and explaining your policies or your platforms, you lose like 90% of voters. You know what I mean?
Okay.
I want to fix infrastructure, the roads, the school. If people have to ask, well, does that include X? Like you've already lost. You know, if you can't just say, I am going to give you X, people have to ask, but what does that mean? Yeah, back to the drawing board, man. And I think that's what happens. I'm going to fix the infrastructure. Like what? Like the roads and water and power lines and cell towers. I don't know. I'm going to build monorails across every major state in this country.
Hey, well, we already tried that in California. Governor Moonbeam.
Monorails? You sure?
Well, half of the speed train in California was monorail, dude. Everything it had to cross, every politically incorrect area that it had to go over ended up looking like a Disney monorail. You know what I'm saying? It looked like you were trapped in Disneyland. But anyway, okay, we're actually about to wrap up here. We've already gone over. We got 5 more minutes. If you guys got any last super chats in your system, some burning questions that must be asked to the Oracle, then make sure you bust them out right now. I was reading a little bit about this Paul McCartney died in 1966 phenomenon, and pre-internet, within 2 weeks, it was actually a nationwide phenomenon. This theory that these college kids at America College had put out, that he had actually died, and that the band had a lookalike contest, and that a guy named Billy Shears won the lookalike contest, and stricken with grief, they laid their all kinds of clues in the lyrics of their songs to hint that Paul McCartney actually was dead. This is awesome, and I need to read up on it, and somebody needs to make a movie about this.
You never heard about that?
I hadn't, no.
Dude, I watched the shout-outs to back before there was like a YouTube. I forgot the website. I think it was
BitChute.
No. I think I was watching it either on Newgrounds or I think it was Newgrounds. There was this channel. I think they were called, not a channel. There wasn't a channel, but there was this video series. I think it was called Urban Legends. And they did a full thing on that was like the first thing that was the first time on the internet I went down the rabbit hole of some weird, bizarre, like conspiracy, but just weird, bizarre story. You know what I mean? Anyway, Jay Watt said, Yang Gang video. We still have to do that, man. I always forget when we're getting set up to do a stream on that. Anything's actually out of the race now. We still haven't done it. So we have to do that one day. God, we do have to do that. We do. Also, I am upset that there is no train, by the way, from Los Angeles to Vegas. That bothers me. I took it for granted. I had to go to Vegas for the Andrew Yang event a few months back, and I just took for granted there must be a train from LA to Vegas, right? It's just desert. There's nothing out there.
Dude, Google Andrew Yang is old, man. He says, I remember when YouTube had a star rating instead of likes.
Oh, yeah. Dude, I remember in 2007 YouTube started. I remember when there was a big controversy when YouTube was banned in my high school.
What?
Because people, do you know why? Because kids just watched, like Dragon Ball Z videos on YouTube and didn't do work, so they blocked it. But it was just this idea of like, it was, I don't know, a very long time ago. And now you look at where YouTube is now. Now it's this awful arm of Google that's used to, by the way, I love YouTube. I mean nothing poor about YouTube. Shout out to our good friend Tom from Nerds for Yang. Shout out to all the YouTube.
Oh, yeah, that's true. We got to get in with Tom so we can't get like taken down, right?
Yeah, well, we'll see, you know what I mean. At least have an in, right?
So anyway, I'm getting asked if I have German ancestry because I come from Argentina. No, I served there. I served there a volunteer service mission for 2 years, my man. And also, Michael Kwok says, I remember this thing called Mosaic. Awesome. And then...
Oh, yeah, Google Mosaic, right? What was Google Mosaic? That does sound really familiar.
Also, Michael Alexander, as a thank you for the super chat, my friend, says he wants a Sphinx/ancient human civilization video, which I am fully willing to coordinate with you, Cody the Oracle.
Yeah, just put yourself together, man.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. So anyway, yeah, this has been awesome. Thank you very much for hanging out with us, guys. Make sure that if you haven't had a chance yet, please smash the like button. We'd like to get over 100 likes, obviously, before we finish the chat. It helps with the Google algorithms. If you can, join our channel. We had a couple people join, even just during the chat. Thank you, Barbara Oval, today. She joined. And I also think there was another one that joined. It was that really weird or something 1K.
I'll pull it up.
Name. You can pull it up. I don't remember.
I'll pull it up.
But thanks a lot for joining. It's a really, really great way to help us keep bringing this video content to you free of corporate sponsorships. We are so far completely 110% member supported, which is actually a really, really good feeling because our only allegiance is to you guys, the viewer. And that's a really, really good position to come in. So you guys can trust actually our opinions and our content to be 100% just us and what we think, in as much as we want to be able to entertain and inform you guys with our opinions and our analysis. So yeah, it's Raven1LK. I'm kind of wondering what the cool...
by the way, in chat, shout out. Thank you very much.
Yeah. So anyway, make sure that you guys, if you have a chance to join, make sure you join. It's very inexpensive. It's cheap. It's like $5 a month or something like that. And it keeps us being able to keep on keeping on
and
with
you
you
get a
guys.
cool badge.
And you get a pretty sick badge. Your name shows up green, and you get all kinds of cool additional content that is just for members only. By the way, Cody, we still need to make the members only basketball game where you and I play each other basketball.
Oh, yeah, and we're going to do a stream.
Cody can drain threes, and I can dunk. I don't know if post leukemia I can dunk, but we're just going to see.
Well, you can't dunk on me.
I don't know, dude. I dunked on a guy who was 5'11", who was standing on the blocks trying to take a charge, and I jumped over him in my prime.
Okay, I'm telling you this though. You're going to the. I'm not taking a charge. You're going to the line.
I'm going to the line. That's.
I'm not gonna stand in there and hope you don't hit me too hard. No, you're shooting free throws, man. That's my style of defense.
Hey, so look, this person just changed their name to Mental Messiah.
Mental Messiah. Shut up.
I just changed my name to something more legible. I didn't know you could do that fast. That's cool. That's awesome. So. Anyway, and Andy Meows is pointed to his badge. Yeah, I designed that. So anyway, if you have a chance to join the channel, please make sure you join the channel.
Shout out to King Kong, by the way.
Yeah, what's shout out to King Kong?
That's the dude on the badge.
Oh, yeah.
It's King Kong.
And he's holding a microphone. Yeah.
You can actually see him in the top left of our overlay. It's King Kong.
Yeah, rock on.
Shout out to King Kong. You know what? It's... The Peter Jackson one was so big, they probably can't do another one soon. It'd be another 10 years.
Oh,
anyway,
no. Yes, they could in a heartbeat. Well, they already did. They did another King Kong afterwards. Remember the King Kong that came out in 2017?
Now it's different. Now they're doing like King Kong monster that fights Godzilla. I'm talking about like an actual King Kong movie.
No, there was the King Kong.
Kong Skull Island has nothing to do with King Kong. Other than King Kong's in it, but he's also 5 times bigger and has nothing to do with King Kong.
Okay, fine. Fair enough.
Kong Skull Island existed because later this year, there's a movie that comes out where he fights Godzilla. So they had to set up with Kong Skull Island that the new King Kong is super tall so they could have him fight Godzilla later this year. By the way, it's happening later this year. King Kong fighting Godzilla in theaters near you. I'm assuming in the summertime.
Yeah. So anyway, if you haven't followed us on Twitter yet, make sure you follow us at PSP Radio 1 on Twitter. Follow us on Instagram at Problem Solver Politics. And no shout out to Facebook because we never cultivate that social media platform. Anyway, this has been a riot. Thank you guys for hanging out. We're going to be in the chat for about another 5 minutes. This is Problem Solver Politics. See you in the next video.